Hi everyone, I'm here to give you a quick overview of the homework for next week and kind of review with you what should have happened in class and what's going to happen in class next week. So I haven't heard from the sub. I'll probably get an email from her early next week. It's hard to do work on Friday afternoon, so I don't really know how class went or how much you guys got through, but I still want you to know that the response essay rough draft is due in class on next Friday. And the assignment has to be 3 pages long. You guys see I typed a note right after my appointment this afternoon, so I'll add the list of homework assignments in just a minute. I want to double check to see in D2L. Oh, it's not scrolling down. Give me a sec. I'm trying to pull it up. There we go. I'm trying to see if I put, yeah. So the instruction sheet is here, so I'll add that to the homework that you should review the instruction sheet. And then I was about to say the instruction sheet tells you that the essay has to be 3 pages long, but as long as you have a 2-page draft, you'll be fine. I also don't require that you are able to put the secondary source into your essay. As long as you can show me that sandwich, that cheeseburger that you practiced in class today in your journal, and I can look at what you did in class, then I can help you to figure out where it goes in your essay during class next week, during the peer review. But if you guys didn't get to the sandwich stuff, we'll have to cover that in class. Or actually what I'm going to do instead is make you watch that video again that you should have watched with the sub. And then your homework assignment is to ensure that you have that sandwich written down, that cheeseburger. It's called the cheeseburger. I sometimes call it a sandwich because in previous semesters, some students say it looks like a sandwich, and this semester somebody named it cheeseburger, so I'm sticking with cheeseburger this semester. So sorry about the slip. I told the sub that it's called the cheeseburger. But anyway, I'll check to see that cheeseburger practice, integrating a source. You guys see I have it up on my screen here. Having the lead in, making sure you have a transition from wherever you've come in your paragraph to cue the readers, me, anybody else reading your essay, that a source is coming. Then quoting from the secondary source. We'll review the in-text citation a little bit next week, but I'm going to ask you to watch that video again, and I do cover it in the video, so you should be good to go. And then having that analysis or that follow-up or that response that I talked about in the video before. So I will be looking for that. So far your homework is be able to show me the sandwich next week in your journal. Sorry, doing it again, the cheeseburger. Having a 2-page rough draft uploaded in D2L and printed out. Don't forget that we talked with our visitor from last week who was observing my teaching about where those print locations are, so you guys can have your stuff printed. And then I do need a copy of your secondary source that you either will have in your draft for next week or that you want to put in your draft. So if you can't get it into your draft for next week because you can't figure out how to make it fit or connect, and that part didn't occur to you today in talking with your classmates, then please bring it with you, and then we can figure that out in class. And I think that is it, except I haven't uploaded this yet, but I'm going to show you where it's going to be, and I will make a reference to it in the homework. I'm going to upload a chapter from a different textbook that has a chapter on response essays, and I'm going to ask you to look at one example response essay in that chapter. There's one on a movie, and there's one on a fiction, piece of fiction, a novel by Hemingway. And the novel on by Hemingway is the closest to what you're doing in your response essay, which is responding to a nonfiction text. So I'll have you look at that, and I will upload that and put a link on it. Last thing I want to do, and so I'm only at 4 minutes, so, you know, haven't been going on too long about the homework. I want to remind you that you should have been filling out the 10 boxes in class today. And we used this handout last week when we looked at that dog food essay, and we came up with ideas for how to write a response essay. So you have a copy of this in your course folder. And now you're looking at it again on the screen, and you've used the 10 boxes to outline, you guys see in paragraphs 3, 4, 5, and 6, criteria or the elements or the aspects of the nonfiction essay that you're responding to in your response essay. You use these boxes to figure that out today when you guys worked on criteria in your groups. So want to remind you, this is the outline for a response essay. It's a very formulaic academic assignment that I'm teaching to you because, as I told you last week, you will write it again and again and again in college. So this is what I choose to teach you in our class. And so I'm just going to run through the very typical outline or order of paragraphs for this kind of essay so that you know what you're doing for your rough draft for next week. My expectation is that everyone should have a short summary of the primary source. The primary source is the essay in the textbook that you summarized and paraphrased, or you chose to switch to another one. Remember, I gave you that option last week. So you will quickly summarize it. It should be no more than 2 sentences. We went from really long source to shorter summary, now to super short summary. Remember, I did that in class last week. Paragraph 2 is optional, but I'll remind you that when we looked at the movie review on It, that the 2 first paragraphs were secondary sources, thesis statement, and summary, and we looked at that in class when we were highlighting parts of that movie review on It. So, you see that I have thesis written in paragraph 2, and more secondary source, but you only have 1 secondary source, so it wouldn't make sense that you would have it in both places. So it's possible that you would have your summary and secondary source and thesis all in 1 paragraph. That would be totally fine, and we'll talk more about that next week. And I'm realizing also that I didn't ask this sub to go over a thesis statement with you, so try to write a draft thesis statement, and we will work with that specifically in class, in addition to doing the peer review next week. So then, after you have your introduction, however long it is, however many paragraphs it is, you will have probably 2 to 4 body paragraphs. You notice in my example outline that I've labeled paragraph 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all locations where you can provide focus on which criterion or which element or which aspect of the primary source you would like to talk about. You've observed something in the you've observed something in the primary source and you want to say something about it in a paragraph. Every time you want to make a new observation, you start a new paragraph. So it's likely that you only have 2 to 4 body paragraphs. I have this larger outline there just so that we can see how to extend this, how to expand this in our future when our papers have to be longer, when professors assign us longer assignments. You notice also that over here for my paragraph 3, I've decided that the criterion I want to use for the essay I'm responding to, and I'm just making this up so you guys aren't getting stuff from me directly for your own draft so that it's more challenging for you. So I'm saying I'm looking at the author's use of history in his nonfiction essay, how he gave current examples of the topic he's writing about, how he interviewed people and used firsthand evidence to provide information about his topic. And then in my paragraph 6, I want to talk about how at the end of his essay, he's changed his perspective or his opinion of the topic that he wrote about. So I'm anticipating 4 body paragraphs. Knowing that I only have to reach 3 pages double spaced for the assignment, I could very easily cut one of these paragraphs out, right? And then I would skip 7 and 8 and 9 and just go directly to the conclusion. And we will talk about conclusion ideas next week during the peer review. So if you have any questions about how your response essay is supposed to be, what order it goes in, where do the examples go that you guys found in class today? Those are going to go in the body paragraphs. You know, you're going to have a sentence that tells that you're focusing on the author's use of history. Then you're going to go find some examples from the textbook and put them in, and hopefully you found those in class. And remember, those examples of my example, use of history, could be paraphrased or quoted, right? So for the assignment, I need you to show me that you can paraphrase and summarize and quote. That's why at this point, we've talked about all the ways to use sources, even though, you know, one of the ways I've talked about sources too is through a video in class, but we've still talked about it. So I'm expecting to see that you can manage all those ways of using sources in this essay. It's one of the challenges of this essay for sure. The other challenge is making sure also in your body paragraphs that you tell, hey, I'm talking about the author's use of history here. Hey, I'm talking about the current examples he uses. Then you give the examples. You also need to explain what you see in those examples. And we'll talk more about that explanation part. It's actually the follow-up in the bottom bun of the sandwich. Remember, we talked about if you have a quote, you have to follow up and say what that quote shows you or what it reveals or what it means or whatever. So you're going to have those 3 basic parts in your body paragraphs. And I've just told you basically how to write your draft. So if you need to listen to this again, do it, because I just told you how to write your essay by going through the parts of this essay in the full outline and then like showing you more specifically what's going in the body paragraphs. Good luck with your rough drafts. Don't stress over it. The point of the peer review is to learn. So if you don't get it exactly right, who cares? We're going to figure that out in class next week. Just give it your best shot. Print out your draft for class so you can participate in the peer review. And I'll see you guys next week, okay? Have a great weekend.